Hello again, everyone. My name is Scott Morris. I am from GTS Distribution. I am the Director of Business Development for Gaming, which is the really long way of saying I'm the board game guy. And welcome back to another one of our retailer to publisher webinars. We are here today with one of our exclusive partners, Board and Dice, who are based out of Poland, but also have presence here in the US. In fact, both of those are available right now. Rainer, who is in the US, is here with us, and Eirik, who is in Poland, is here with us as well. So we have a
Hello.
pretty big time gap in between everybody, but it should be very fun. You're more than likely familiar if you do business with GTS and you're a retailer partner of ours. You are more than likely familiar with Board and Dice. One of the more successful games of the last 5 years has been under their wing with Teotihuacan and been extremely popular. But they are much more than just one game. They have a wide catalog of many different games available for many different types of gamers, whether you are younger or older or experienced or new or anything in between. And today we're going to be talking about a couple of new things. One thing I am extremely excited for. I very rarely play a game for the first time and immediately develop an opinion about it. Usually it takes me like 2 or 3 times to play a game before I start to really go, okay, this is good, it's repeatable, and it's something that'll continue on, or no, maybe this is a one-hit wonder and kind of moves on down the road. But Mandala Stones, which we're going to talk about today, which is going to be coming out later this year, it was one of those very few small quantity of games that when I played it, I was like, yep, this is a winner. This is a great game. So I am very excited to talk about that. We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about the expansion to Teotihuacan, which is called Expansion Period. And we're also going to be talking about the Paladin Sleeves, which some of you have already brought into your stores. We brought those in late last year, I believe, late in 2020.
It
But
was
as we
last
kind
week
of,
of December, yeah.
yeah. So you may have those in your stores already. And if you do, that's great. If not, this may be the first time you're hearing about it. But it is a great line of sleeves, and we got a lot more to come with that as well. So I don't want to steal all the thunder, but I will remind everybody you are more than welcome to ask any kind of questions you like. If you open up your chat window and you're here watching this live, you can open up your chat window and go to all panelists and attendees and send a message to myself, Rainer, and Eirik. We'd be happy to answer any kind of questions you have as we go along. If you are watching this on YouTube pre-recorded, thank you also for joining in, and you're welcome to ask any kind of questions below in the YouTube comments, and we will get back to you as soon as possible on that. But with that, I'm going to let my face that was made for radio be quiet. Rainer, you are the professional with Twitch streaming and all the different things you do online right now. So I got a good feeling I'm going to be bouncing it over to you to take over.
That's absolutely right. All right, so let me share my screen here. All right, so like Scott was saying, so today we're going to talk about primarily the expansion for Teotihuacan and Mandala Stones, and briefly touch on some other releases just to give you an idea of what's planned for the future. So let's look at the 2021 publishing plan in general. We have both Teotihuacan Expansion Period and Mandala Stones, which they've already been produced, they're already ready. As you may know, there are currently some global logistics issues. They are waiting for ocean freight out of the factory, and as soon as that happens, they will be making their journey to North America. Currently, that's estimated to be released in the May-June timeframe. So as soon as that makes it onto the ocean, then those will be coming your way. And obviously, if there are any updates there, and if we're able to, we're in contact with various freight companies on a weekly basis. So as soon as something opens up, we'll let you know on that front. But also looking towards the future, we have in August, we have Origin's First Builders, which is coming out, which is a design by Adam Kwipinski. And this one we're very excited about because it's a game that has managed to attract a wide variety of gamers. It has gorgeous artwork, it has very interesting and innovative mechanisms, a bit of dice drafting, but also your dice are workers, so there's a bit of worker placement there. the theme of it is you're probably familiar with the idea that a lot of the ancient wonders that we see, that they must have been built by the aid of another civilization, maybe aliens and so forth, because um, primitive civilizations may not have had the technologies. And this is basically the theme of the game, is that yes, there were aliens and they aided in this and the building of the civilizations.
So
We
you're
will be
not saying
talking,
it was aliens, but it was
but it
aliens.
was the aliens, correct? And this is something that we will talk more about in the future. We just want you to be aware of this, that this is something that is coming, and there will be lots more details about this game forthcoming. Now, you may, if you are an astute observer, you may notice that March 22 is not 2021. However, as Zapotec, we want you to be aware, even though this is going to be available in distribution at the beginning of next year, we're going to be doing basically a pre-release of it later this year. So basically in the November timeframe is when there will be some pre-release efforts and a smaller pre-release for customers and heavy marketing over the holidays and so forth to set you off to a good start to 2022 with Zapotec by Fabio Lopiani. And again, this is something we will be talking about more in the future as the time gets closer. This one is a little bit lighter compared to games like Teotihuacan and Tekkenu and Tawantinsuyu. And it uses a very interesting card mechanism where the cards that you have, they both determine which resources you will be producing, but also where you can be building various types of buildings, and also the types or in the regions where you can construct them. And the card that is not drafted that round is going to be determine the scoring for the following round. But we will come back to both Origins and Zapotec in a future webinar. Now, in case
only add that I like to say about Zapotec that this is a second step Euro game, because after the games like, for example, Traintopia, the next game like Zapotec will give you the proper Euro feeling, but this is not yet an expert game like Teotihuacan, Tekkenu, or Tawantinsuyu.
Correct.
It's also good to note, Derek asked a question in chat about Origins and Zapotec for pre-order. So those are later this year. Those have not been solicited yet. As you see, the information on Rainer's slide there, it shows August of 2021 or March of 2022. So those still have a little bit of work and a little bit of time on them, but they are, often in the works on everything. So once we have those available to solicit, in Q3, Q4 timeframe, we'll get those available for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we just want you to be aware of what's coming, so that it's not sudden news for you later when that happens.
We've mentioned this a few times before when we've had you guys on as a guest, but I think it's always good to remind everyone who either is brand new and here for the first time learning about Board and Dice, or maybe watching on YouTube and learning about it for the first time. But in my role, I basically am partner manager to a lot of our publishers, and I get read into a lot of plans and a lot of upcoming releases. It is very, very, very rare for a publisher to know the next year to 18 months of releases and stay on track with that. A lot of times people will plan for the next 18 months, but then things, tend to get in the way. And I'm not even talking about the COVID era or anything else that we're dealing with from a shipping and logistics perspective right now. Just in general, the board game industry has always, struggled with delays and challenges. But you guys have done an absolutely amazing job over the last 3 or 4 years of staying on par with your schedule. You guys were barely impacted from COVID shipping and issues last year in terms of all the new releases that had come out, like Traintopia and everything. So it was really good to see that, you guys have grown to that position where you are able to work with your manufacturers in a way to say confidently, hey, this is a game that's going to be coming out in Q3, or this is a game that's going to be coming out in Q4, and be able to stick to that. In fact, to my knowledge, you and only one other publisher have been the only people to say a year in advance, this is what we're releasing at Essen, and be able to nail that 2 years in a row. So you guys have done tremendously well with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, it's when we're talking about these release dates, that it's not just about the production of the games and so forth. It's the whole plan for how can we market this the most effectively? How can we make sure that all the information is ready on time? Not just for the factory to produce it, but just so that we are ready to also support them and make sure that there's no that the titles don't compete with each other and so forth. So that's part of the plan, which is also why we're able to give you a long heads up so that you know what to expect from us in the future as well. Now, you may be noticing that aside from Teotihuacan, the expansion for it, we don't have any announced titles right now in what we would, or what's often referred to as our T line of games like Teotihuacan, Tekkenu, and Tawantinsuyu. There will be, it doesn't mean that there's an end to this line. There will be more news in the future. But just to cover what this line of games means, if you're only familiar with some of them, or depending on your familiarity with these titles, one thing that they have in common is that they are really, even though they are very different themes, the very different mechanisms, they belong together as far as the quality of game goes. The approach to the theme and the mechanisms, the weight and gameplay experience. If you have a customer who is a fan of one of these games, you can confidently and safely recommend the other ones to them, because most likely this will be the same type of experience that they have already enjoyed previously. Let's talk about the expansion for Teotihuacan expansion period. Now, one thing that we should mention here, so the name of it itself is a play on words on the fact that this is the final expansion for the base game. So there have been 2 expansions previously, which is the late pre-classic period and Shadow of Xitle. So expansion period is the 3rd and final expansion for Teotihuacan. Just like the first one, which was also a larger box size late pre-classic period, which was a modular expansion. Expansion period is also a modular expansion, which means that people can take the modules, they can combine them, you can play with everything if you would like, you can pick and choose and try a few modules, and you do get a different game experience based on the modules that you are combining. Just like the first expansion for it, so this is going to be this basically half the size of the base game. So it's the same Ticket to Ride size square, but half the height of the box. The retail price for this one is $35. And like I mentioned on a previous slide, this is one that it's already been produced and it's ready for ocean freight. So May, June timeframe is the expectation for this. Also, there is, as normal, a media kit available, as well as a rule book for that, so that you can become familiar with what this expansion provides, as well as something that you can share when you're marketing and selling this game, and when you are, if you have customers that have questions and so forth. So there should be plenty of information for you there. Now, when we're talking about this,
I always like to underline regarding to media kits, guys, if you will need anything to be added there, please contact us. We are flexible here, and all the materials we can share with you, we can help you out with. We will add them. It's easy for us to create them, and we would gladly share them with you to help you with the sales. So if you have any other ideas, just let us know.
Absolutely.
And just so everyone knows, Rainer, obviously, I'm sure you'll send me a copy of the deck when we're done here for the presentation, but I can make sure to get that out to all the retailers that are here. And then also include the links to the media kits and the rule books in the YouTube description. So that should be down below as well.
Yep, absolutely.
The media kits are great. If you haven't used them before, they are phenomenal to grab different images. You can customize a lot of them yourself. If you want to, put your FLGS's logo on it and your store's logo on it and put it onto Facebook, it's really, really good stuff.
I can tell you, for example, that for Mandala Stones, we will expand the media kit a lot, because right now we have sent the pre-release copies to several different photographers, and they will do completely different perspective and different style of photos. So you will be able to get them to pick which one are the most comparable for you, the most which your customers can like, and you can just easily use them in your promo materials as well.
And I should also mention that when we're saying that this is the final expansion, this is basically when the game was released, there was a long-term plan for what expansion content would be included and how the game would be expanded. We are not going to infinitely expand a game just because it's a good seller. This is a game that we had a very, very concrete plan for how it should be expanded. And we want to make sure that each expansion is adding value, so that it's not just more content or that it gets watered down over time. This contains as much meat as the first expansion. And it's also, just because it's the final expansion for the base game does not mean that we're not going to continue to support the line and continue to expand the universe. There will be future games that are in the same setting, games that take a different look at some of the mechanisms that you can find in Teotihuacan. So basically the line and the experience and the universe that this game exists in, we will continue to support. Of course, there are plans to continue to reprint and support the existing base game and expansions as well for the foreseeable future. Next, let's talk about Mandala Stones, which is an abstract strategy game, which will be coming out also in the May-June timeframe. And again, this is a game that has been produced, and it's just awaiting ocean freight. Now, one thing that I would like to highlight here before we go into some of the details about the game, this is a very large first print run. So just over 23,000 units in the first printing, with several printings already in the works for additional language versions and so forth. Currently 15 languages that are in the print or in the works. It's very much a global release for us, where not only is this available of course in the North American market, but in games that you would traditionally expect to get early releases like German and French and Italian and so forth. But this is definitely a game that is appealing to a global market. This has opened doors for us. There has been a tremendous interest from the Asian market. This will be in both the two versions of Chinese. There are plans for the Arabic market and so forth. So this is a game that has been very well received. We have been working on showing this off to various localization partners, to media partners all over the world for the past year. So despite the pandemic going on, this is a game that we've been focused on marketing and selling and getting feedback on for about a year now. And one of the reasons why this is so appealing, and this is what Scott touched on earlier as well, is that this is a game that the first time that you sit down to play it, you very quickly get an idea for what the game has to offer. But you also realize that there is still depth in there. There's a lot of things to explore in the game itself. Like I said, this is an abstract strategy game that uses these ebonite discs or stones. There are 96 of them in the game. Very colorful, has a gorgeous table presence. And what you do on your turn is very simple. You will either move one of 4 artists to one of 9 locations on the main game board. So this is a shared game board. You move an artist and take stones that surround that artist. Or you will be able to score stones that you have previously collected and placed on your player board during a previous turn. Now, there are several things to consider. Even though the choices are very simple, either move an artist and take stones, placing them on your player board, or scoring stones that you have collected previously. Because of the 4 different colors of these discs that are in the game and 2 different patterns, there are a lot of things for you to consider, both which order you're taking the stones, how are you placing them on your player board. There are 5 different scoring locations, each of them scoring differently, which means that the height of the stack of stones that you have collected, the order of the colors within that stack, that will affect not just the next time that you score, but potentially future scorings as well. And being able to create a setup where you are taking advantage of a particular move, not just on this turn, but for future turns, creates for very rewarding gameplay, while being simple as far as the rules. It's not a very complicated game, but it offers a lot of strategic depth to satisfy both casual gamers as well as experienced gamers. This is a game that you can easily take and put in front of a group of very casual gamers. It's easy for them to get involved. There's a lot of fun in how you're handling these discs, the presentation on the gaming board, very easy goals for the player to try to strive for. But at the same time, for experienced gamers, now there's the extra layer of, okay, well, the move that I'm making, not only is that going to affect my player board and the stones that I'm collecting, but I am potentially opening up moves for my opponents. How can I make sure that I get the best move for myself without opening up a great opportunity for one of my opponents? How can I anticipate what moves they are going to be making, especially in planning for the end of the game, planning for bonus spaces on the scoring board, and so forth. There is a lot to this game, despite being in a very appealing and very universally appealing package. There's a lot to explore here. Again, there is a lot of content already available in the media kit, but this is also being expanded with more photos. And also starting in March through April and into May, we will be partnering with various media partners and others to put out content on a weekly basis. So there will be either game playthroughs, or there will be photo blogs talking about this, other types of content. So various media and content creators will be talking about Mandala Stones on a weekly basis. So this will help also build up the anticipation for the game as we are awaiting being able to provide this and send it to you for a May or June release. There is for the price, so the retail price for this is $40. There is a lot of value in this game. And just the 96 large, they're just over an inch in diameter, large, and they have some weight to them, these ebonite discs in there. There are large wooden pawns in the game, and just in general, a table presence that is very, very impressive. So yes, and of course, if you have any questions about this, we will be glad to answer those as well. Now, I would like to talk about the Paladin Sleeves, which is a brand of card sleeves, which is now available through GTS in North America. And when it comes to this brand of sleeves, so this is a brand of sleeves that was developed, and this is not just a rebrand of something else, but this is a brand of sleeves that has very several very important talking points. So first of all the sleeves are of a premium quality. These sleeves have been around on the market for about 5 years now, so we have a long and consistent experience of being able to produce these, and they have been very well received on the market. As far as the quality of the plastic itself, they're very durable. They're 90 micron thickness, which means that this is a great compromise between having a lasting quality to the sleeves that will be able to withstand a lot of abuse, while also being providing for people to still being able to stack the cards. These the card stacks are not going to slide hopelessly around the table. They're going to be stacking and packing very well. Also, as far as the cut and sizing is very consistent in that regard. Of course, as is the standard, they're both a high level of clarity. Of course, there's no acid and PVC in these, so the type of plastic that you would be able to expect from card sleeves. Also, they say that when you get copied, that's one of the highest levels of praise that you can receive. So the Paladin sleeves, we were the first ones to do 55 sleeves per pack. And one of the reasons for this is simply for the fact that a lot of games, just because of how card sheets are manufactured, it's very common for a game to contain either 55 or 110 cards. So instead of the previously traditional 50 sleeve packs, we increased this to 55, just to make sure that people can be able to sleeve a complete game with as few packs as possible. And of course, there have been other brands that have copied this by also going to 55 or 110. As far as the line itself, this is a very comprehensive product line. We have 44 different SKUs that basically provide card sleeves for all sorts of different sizes. Now, GTS has the 10 most popular models that are available, and these are the ones that you would expect to see. These are all the standard sizes, so both the standard board game and CCG, the poker size ones, as well as standard American and European sizes, the mini sizes of those, the tarot size cards, for example. But it's also important to notice that among this list of sleeves are a couple of very successful sellers for us. So you have the Ragnar size. These are the ones that are used basically exclusively by Garfield Games. So the North Sea and the West Kingdom series. And so this is a sleeve size that will be very suitable for those games. And especially as we anticipate whatever is going to be coming next, the next trilogy from Garfield Games, as well as the really good sellers that are already out from the previous ones, as well as Raiders of Scythia. This is a sleeve brand that can accommodate those cards. Also, the Palamedes size is one that this is one that will go in waves. There are times when it will sell a lot, and other times when there will be a bit of a lull there. These ones are primarily used by games like Kingdom Death Monster. So if you have a lot of miniature gamers in your area and that come to your store, and this is the only premium brand of sleeves that is able to fully support all of the cards in games like that. And in general, when it comes to obviously these 10 most popular models, this is going to cover the majority of the needs, and primarily for people that come and shop in your store, this is going to be the majority of the needs, sleeving needs that they have. Just know that if someone is saying, oh, I wish that I could sleeve this other game, or there are a few odd sizes, chances are that we have the sleeves for it, and they will be able to order that directly. So that way they can keep it consistent and have a single sleeve brand, even if it's a game that uses a few odd sizes. Now, like I mentioned, this is a sleeve that has been on the market for almost 5 years. The projection is for us to, on a consistent basis, be printing about 500,000 packs per printing. And this is something we've worked very closely with the factory prior to COVID and such. We would always have someone go out to the factory, meet with them, check on the quality of the plastic. We've been very well informed of the supply line there to make sure that this is a sleeve that can maintain a consistent quality. We visited the factory, making sure that the production is up to our expectations and our standards. So this is something that it's basically ready to, we can print this as quickly as the demand would require.
I will add to that one more thing. This is I want to underline that this is not the experiment. We are not fresh on the market. We, as Rainer said, we have 5 years of experience in sleeves, and what more, not only we are expanding the distribution not only in North America, because right now we have more and more partners on board, including the markets like Spanish language market, Italian market, Greek market. We have also partners in Germany, UK. We are working with partners in Asia. So the whole line, the idea of the line is expanding, I would even say from week to week, because every week right now is a new partner on board, is a new fract of sleeves sending to a different part of the world. So this is showing how we grow regarding to the sleeves, and that our partners believe in experience we have in this. So I am pretty sure that if you don't already know the Paladin card protection line, if you will get some, you will be very satisfied from the quality and the look and the presentation in your store as well.
So there were a couple of questions that came through on chat, and I kind of wanted to run through them real quick, from hopefully easiest to more challenging in terms of the questions. So Norman asked, will the other sleeve size be available for special order? The answer to that is yes. As you can see on this slide here that Rainer is on, we started off later last year with the 10 most popular brands. It was under kind of a time crunch, and we wanted to get it in before the holidays. It was like first week of December is when we were able to physically get them in. So to make that as simple as possible and as quick as possible, we went with the 10 top selling brands. But there are more sleeves available than just those 10. And that's something that obviously with Board and Dice being an exclusive partner of ours that we're going to grow into for sure. The next question, Derek had asked, do you have an online sizing guide that tells which size a game would require, either for your games or preferably other manufacturers as well? There is a big catalog that covers a lot of different things on that. And I think, Eirik, that is in the media kits area right now. Is that correct?
It is, exactly. It is right now available. It is, I can even give you a number. It is probably the catalog number 21. Let me check that for you pretty quickly. Gotcha. Inside the media kit, there is a catalog, yes, number 20, Paladin card protectors. Okay, and yes, inside you will find also the visualizations. What I can see here pretty briefly, unfortunately, there is no catalog, but I will fix that in next 2 hours. So you will find the catalog inside. You also have, and this is the answer for the second question, you have some Paladin infographics inside, which shows how many packs of which models you need to sleeve our games. And also answering another question, we are working right now for a set of tools for you guys, for the retailers, to help you out with telling your customers which kind of games related to the sleeves, which kind of sleeves you need and how many units to sleeve, for example, Kingdom Death Monster. So we are preparing this one for you. It should be available up to 1 week since today. So I will also add this to the media kit, plus I will send it to Scott, and we will be able to share that in the newsletters. So you will be able to download it and use it with your customers.
Perfect.
And one thing to mention also there, so when it comes to our games, the information about how many packs are needed is also printed on the box. And we've also maintained, this is pretty much an industry standard. There are a few exceptions to sleeve brands that don't follow the standard, but basically when it comes to, so you see the colored headers there on the packs. So basically, if someone has take Fantasy Flight sleeves that are no longer on the market, for example, and someone says, well, it says that I needed basically the green packs. Well, it's the same size here, so that's a consistent thing, which is more of an unwritten standard when it comes to the sleeves. So that these sleeves follow that as well. So if it's a green label on another publisher's game, then these sleeves would fit that size as well.
That is a good thing to know, because I can imagine that, like you said, with those sleeves being off the market, there's retailers who probably get asked questions about that. So being able to just say, if you see green by green, if you see yellow by yellow, that's a very easy thing to know.
Now, and it's important though to know that not every brand adheres to that, but ours definitely follow that general color.
That's good. That's good. Joe asked a question. He actually asked two questions. So the first question is, are the sleeves matte or gloss? My understanding, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but unless it specifically says matte, it's going to be a gloss sleeve. And then he also asked, are there plans to release larger counts of the pack? So instead of 55, if you plan to do anything larger of like a 60 or 100 or anything like that.
There are no plans currently for different pack sizing. This size here basically is it's easy for people to do comparisons, right? And say, okay, well, I know how many I get and how much it's going to cost and so forth.
Awesome. That is all the questions that were in chat for right now. So you are more than welcome to get back to your regularly scheduled program.
And I should also mention that we are working on an app that will be available for both iOS and Android that will be able to specifically when it comes to the Paladin Sleeves, where people will be able to search for any game, not just ours, and be able to know exactly the number of packs needed, depending on which expansions they have and so forth. And I should also mention that if you might be aware of this, but there is on Board Game Geek, there is a very, very comprehensive list that is community supported that contains all of not just the most recent games, but a long back catalog of games by all sorts of publishers. There are thousands of games on this list that tells you exactly which sleeves are needed for which brand. It tells you if there are sizing issues and if certain brands. So if you have a customer that is saying, look, I have this game, and if they're not aware of that geek list, or for that matter, if that's something that you want to have access to in your store, it tells you exactly would this sleeve or would this brand, because sometimes some publishers, they say that it's a certain size, but if they don't adhere to that size perfectly, there might be that a few brands of sleeves might have a tighter fit or so, or if the cards are longer than normal, whatever it might be. So that list gives you a very good and comprehensive idea for not just our sleeves, but also for other brands as well.
Is that something, Rainer, that you could shoot me in an email or
a text absolutely
with the BGG link? That way we can get it out to everybody.
Absolutely.
Cool.
All right.
I will maybe tell that loudly, because I just answered the chat about the app. For Android, it's already available, so you can download it and check it out. For iOS, we are right now finishing the tests. So I guess it's a matter of few weeks, because here we need to wait a bit longer for Apple to check the app. So I think it should be available in a matter of like, I don't know, 14 days max.
Yep. And I should also mention actually that this app is something, one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we were considering is the longevity and the how the data is sourced for this. So this is not just us trying that. This is basically community sourced. In fact, that geek list on Board Game Geek is one of the sources for the data, so that we can keep the app up to date and be able to provide, even as new games are released and so forth, that the information can be provided in there. Now, on this last slide, this is touching on something. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is touching on some of the things that we've talked about in the past, which also is at the core of why we do these webinars and these presentations, and the basically what our brand and what we stand for as individuals as well. We want you to know that you can always expect to have access to media kits, not just for our upcoming releases, but as well for older games and so forth. We have been working not just this year, but it's been a goal previously, which allowed us actually in 2020 to quickly pivot and adapt to a more of an online presence due to COVID, is that we have always use Tabletopia and other such online platforms, both for internal tests, but also to do demos with media partners and so forth, which is one thing that allowed us to do hundreds of demos for all of the games that have come out recently, as well as upcoming ones with media partners all over the world, and particularly and especially in North America. Of course, we are constantly working when it comes to having our products supported and talked about in social media. We are working on providing regular support for to you and to support your sales reps. Any information that we can provide, if there's something that you don't have and that you need from us, we are always open to provide that to you. As well as just in general, we talked about this before, the fact that we have a long-term plan. We start promoting and laying the groundwork for each title long before the release. We have a very detailed plan for how we're going to promote this. Games like Origins and Zapotec, even if they're not coming out in the case of Zapotec for a year, we already have plans of how are we going to when will they be produced? When are we going to start the marketing? How are we going to market these? Which partners are going to be involved? Just to make sure that we get the best coverage for all of our games. And of course, as well as just improving the things that we do when it comes to production. We're never just satisfied with the status quo. We're always looking for ways to improve and to make sure that the production quality and the standard for our games is constantly growing and improving, as well as the communication, including this webinar by me and Irek. And that right there concludes the presentation portion of this. Obviously, any questions and so forth that you have, we'll be happy to answer those.
And, one of my favorite questions always to ask is, if people do want to follow up with you guys later, would you prefer them to send emails directly to you guys, or is there a sales at Board and Dice or anything like that you'd like them to contact you at? What's the easiest way for them to reach out with questions?
I will type you my address and Rainer's address, so feel free to contact us directly. We don't use any general email. Of course, the general one is contact@boardanddice.com. So if you want to use this one, no problem, but you can always type the message directly to us. So I will post this in chat right away.
And I can verify from my length of time working with these guys, Eric does not sleep at all. So you can ping him at any time.
That's really the reason. That's the reason why we cover both European and American time zones. So that way there will always be someone that is awake. So.
For sure.
And I sent to you, Scott, and I'm just going to include that in the chat here as well. But that way people can have access to it after the stream as well, a link to that geek list on Board Game Geek. And like I said, all the games that are on there by in an alphabetical order. It's easy to find it. They talk about like there's a lot of information here as far as this is a very, very good good list, and this is it contains information about the general information about the sleeves and links to them and everything. So this is a very good.
That's great. I'll make sure to include that in the YouTube description as well. That way people can have links to that and get back to it if they need to. Norman asked an interesting question, and I know exactly where he's going with this. Is there already in the line perfect fit sleeves or inner sleeves? When it comes to Magic and TCG players, there are a lot of guys that like to double sleeve and pack their things as protected as possible, because as you can imagine, when you're spending hundreds of dollars on a single card, you don't necessarily want to riffle shuffle that thing. So
right. So we had a first of all, our sleeves in general have a let's take Fantasy Flight sleeves as a contrast comparison, right? They were often known for being a bit more loose fitting, right? They would be longer and wider than necessary. Ours are in general a tighter fit to begin with. We did also have a specific sleeve size that was a perfect fit, which was Titan. That one is currently not one that is being produced. We have the ability, obviously, to it's already set up with our factory and so forth. One of the reasons why, so we have not at this point, our primary pursuit has not been necessarily that, right? So we don't have a separate sleeve or so where you would be able to double sleeve, where one is slightly larger or an inner sleeve that is maybe thinner or so forth. Part of the reason is because we know that people that are particular sleeving and double sleeving very high value cards, they already have brands that they know and love. Now, when we're looking to the future, again, this is not the end of the line of where we want to go. We have focused on being able to provide a comprehensive line of sleeves for all sorts of board game needs. So if you have a board game, there is a 99% chance that you'll be able to sleeve it with Paladin Sleeves. As far as other things, we know that when it comes to Magic the Gathering, other types of collectible card games, that people have very specific expectations and that there are different things that they may want from that. And that's something that we're always keeping an eye on. This it's something that we have in the past. We had, for example, sleeves with colored backs. Those are not currently being produced, primarily because in the era of COVID, the plastic supplier was basically we wanted to make sure that we could maintain a consistent quality. Right now, that's not something that we are able to provide. So they have been primarily or temporarily at least put on hold. There's no guarantee that they will come back on the market, but that's something we don't know. So right now they're basically no longer available. So the 4 to 4 SKUs, those are the ones that are active. That does not include, if you're familiar with our games, that does not include those matte sleeves or the colored backs that have been available previously.
Cool. Also, I'd like to add, as we talked about earlier, we had set up the 10 best-selling sleeves from the Paladin line right now. If you are a retailer who carries them, or if you have seen them online and there's a specific line that we have not set up just yet, if there's one you'd like us to rush to set up, please let us know. You can reach out to me at smorris@gtsdistribution.com. You can ping your sales rep, let them know, and they can pass that back over to me as well. The goal is, of course, to expand it to the entire line. Like I said, we just had started it late last year and wanted to make sure that the top sellers were available for Christmas. But definitely appreciate everyone's feedback with that. It looks like that are all the questions. It looks like we've covered everything that we had come up in chat. So Rainer, Eirik, I just want to thank you again. It's always a pleasure to talk with you guys. We talk on a weekly basis as it is already, but to get to actually sit down and not talk about containers and logistics and all the sexy part of the business and actually talk about the real fun part of the business with the games is really good time. So I appreciate y'all coming and taking the time to meet with the retailers. And retailers, thank you very much as always. I know, in this day and age, it's kind of crazy to get a half an hour to an hour free to sit down and do anything, let alone come and join us for one of our webinars. So I really do appreciate you taking the time to come join. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment below, and we're happy to answer any kind of questions you have. Be on the lookout for more. As we talked about briefly at the beginning of this, we are trying to space these out a little more so that they're not one on top of the other, and give everybody a little more free time to catch up in between on things. But be on the lookout for more. There are definitely more coming, and not just from board games. We have a couple of webinars that we're planning and scheduling with some role-playing game manufacturers, with some dice manufacturers. So we got a couple of additional things coming into the mix as well. So, but until we see you next time, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week in your stores. And gentlemen, have a great week getting Mandala Stones to us, because we are looking forward to that.
Thank you very much. It is always a pleasure to be with you here, guys, and have a great week.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.